Welcome to another episode of XR Talk Show. Today's topic is going to be one of these, or just ask me questions and I'll talk about it. So these are the topics I'm going to post in the YouTube video information there, and just look at it and let me know what you want me to talk about. Let me say something here. Or type a topic. Hi guys, one person watching. Good morning. Here is California time, 11:30 in San Francisco. For those of you who don't know, I'm in Mountain View, which is a city that is about 40 minutes drive south of San Francisco in USA, of course. And the place I live is known as Silicon Valley. That's where all the Google, Facebook, Apple, PayPal, all the major web companies are at. So today I'm going to talk about things. And so it can be Emacs, it can be technical, or it can be non-technical. Technical means Emacs, JavaScript, programming languages, and so on. And also I can cover the programming culture, the celebrities, the Emacs, the Richard Stallman, Guido. Yeah, actually I'm going to talk about Guido. Guido is the inventor of the Python language. And he's well, simply put, I don't like his the way he think about things. I mean that many his ideas about Python. So I don't like Python. And hey Scott, good morning, great to see you. Hey Duncan. So I'm in a conference call with my peers in San Diego, the opposite coast of me. Oh, conference call. How can you join the video in the meantime then? I mean, aren't you? Oh, okay, great. Scotland. Oh my God, from Scotland. Yeah, I've never been to Europe, so I don't know much of anything about Europe. But I know that the Scotland and the England, the United Kingdom is a bit complex. There's a complicated relations. Like there is this guy on YouTube, GP Gray, I think, something like that. So he did a video explaining, all the countries in UK, United Kingdom. And Irish, I get confused about that. Okay, so Scott, so do you want to talk about Emacs? Like, yeah, I remember you asked me about doing a Emacs demo. I mean, something, my workflow. Or actually, Scott, soon, in maybe next week or next few days, this week, we should do a conference, hangout together. I mean, it's up to you. We can do it hangout together, just you and me, or I can kind of invite you, to be a guest on the XR Talk Show. So we're gonna be chatting, and people, yeah, or we can do it we can do it so that I interview you and you're gonna show us your Emacs knowledge. Your history and how you use Emacs. So Scott says, I was wondering, do you render your site locally and push it to the main website? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in fact, I can show you. For example, this is my programming blog. So and notice the URL, it's local file. So I'm going to create a new entry here today, and put the date. Okay, then view in browser, you can see it's there, and I'm going to put it to my RSS. It's all Emacs command. You can see the commands on the left panel. So new entry, close that. Then I'm going to go to eShell. Then I just async. Then if you go to okay, so it's uploaded. 3 files updated. The XML file is the RSS file. So close it and go to the browser. Xali.info. So see the programming blog over here, and you can see the new entry there. So that's how I do it. Hey, green deck, can you talk about Unix philosophy? Like programs should do one thing. Yeah, let's talk about that. That's one of my favorite ranting topic. I'm gonna rant on for hours about Unix philosophy. Basically I consider it, it's like a code. There's no truth whatsoever. It's just a bunch of slogans and jargons, and every programmer, every the elite kind of hacker type of programmers, they all like for it. They all spread it. Oh, Unix philosophy, this and that. But anyway, Unix philosophy, it kind of died down. I mean, the hacker culture and the word, even the word hacker, got is not, it's not mainstream these days for other political reasons. There's, the social justice movement. So it's like you cannot be a hacker. To be a hacker is, like a privilege. So that kind of died out. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about that. So Scott, you cannot use rsync, only FTP or web dev to push the command line. So I mean, so are you looking for a way to update your site, or what? I mean, you have a website, or is it for your work or something? Like, I mean, are you asking a question, or are you just commenting? By the way, do people still use FTP? I mean, that died long ago, right? And I don't know what is web dev. You mean David, like DAV or DEV? Oh, you want to push the minimum amount of files? Then rsync is the right choice. I mean, why can't you use rsync? Yeah, I don't know what is web dev. There's a bug in Brave browser. Anyway, so web dev Wikipedia, web distributed authoring and versioning is an extension of the hypertext transport. Oh, I didn't know that. Is an extension of the hypertext transfer protocol that allows clients to perform remote web content authoring. The web dev protocol provides a framework for users to create, change, or move. I never heard of this before. So is there like a client, like a tool you use to do that? Oh, and this is old. Web dev began in 1996. So yeah, I don't know about these. Oh yeah, it's been around for a long time. So guys, if you have a questions, just ask me, okay? In the YouTube information box below the video, there's a list of topics. Oh, you can just ask me anything, after all, this is the talk show. So I'm gonna go, there's one thing I want to talk about, which is Python, the Guido. Guido invented Python, the Guido character. I don't like the Python language. I started to learn Python in 2005. from Perl. I was a professional Perl programmer. I'm a master of Perl. But the Perl culture, as you know, well, most people don't know these days because Perl died. But the Perl culture is like, okay, the Perl culture is the group. It's in the same group with the Unix philosophy people. The so-called hackers type. They like they like jargons. Like in Unix, you have all sort of jargons. Cat. Besides philosophy, okay, there's Unix philosophy. You have KISS, like keep it simple, stupid. You have bunch of, but I'm gonna talk about that. But Perl is kind of in the same group. Perl people and Unix people. Perl people, they have like a thousand slogans and jargons. Like the onion, the onion, the state of the onion. Like they use that phrase whenever they have a conference, like each year, like the state of onion, and the Perl mongers, mongers, and like huge amount of it. Like there are more than one way to do it, and every programmer is like chanting it every day. And it's the same way with Unix philosophy. I mean, you don't hear it much anymore because it died out. But that was then. So I really, I despise it very much. I mean, these people, these hacker types, I don't get along with. I don't like their opinions. I mean, as a person, they are fine. I mean, I'm a nerd. I'm like in the same group. I'm and I wallow in Unix and Solaris, Unix, Perl. That is my thing. So and open source. I never programmed in Microsoft technologies. I tried to learn a little bit a few years ago, but I just never got into it. And also, I never programmed the Apple, any Apple of stuff. So their technology, their API or whatever. So the programming stuff I'm into and do every day is basically well, today you just call it open source, like Python, Perl, Apache, Linux, and back then it's Unix, Solaris, HPUX. I actually ported our software to HPUX. That's HP's Unix. Back then you also have AIX, which is IBM's Unix. You have IRIX. IRIX is the SGI's Unix. They kind of all died. Of course, some microsystems died, bought by Oracle, and so on. So, there's one thing about them. You see, all these Unixes they end with X as kind of a unsaid agreement. Because it's fun. You have all these operating systems ending in X, and also there's POSIX. By the way, POSIX. POSIX. POSIX is actually a standard for Unix like systems. And by the way, Unix is also a trademark. And in order for your operating system to be called Unix or Unix like, I think, I'm not sure, but you have to like pass their certificate. And this is a commercial. This is a greedy org. But anyway, the interesting thing about that is Microsoft Windows NT actually passed the Unix certificate. They submit, and you have to pay money, I think. And so they passed it. So Microsoft NT is actually Unix, technically speaking. And so you got this POSIX and Unix, POSIX and Unix certificate, and also keep the comments coming. Okay, I'm gonna read it every few minutes. So you got all these Unix operating systems, and what was I going to say? And they yeah. So I mean the Unix. So you got this bunch of Unix, and I forgot what I was going to say. POSIX. Oh, okay. Anyway, POSIX is not really an operating system. It's just a standard, and it's pretty bad. I mean, it's like all the geeks. Well, not today, but all the geeks back then. Also RFC. Like RFC. Every fucking geek is gonna talk about RFC every day. When you talk about some subject, or mention some problems in programming or sysadmin, they'll say, "Oh, read RFC. This." RFC is one of the worst specification, and it's also anyway. So I have been in a Unix community for, well, I began in the industrial programming since 1998. Starting with Perl and Solaris, and MySQL and Oracle database, and Apache, but I developed. So I and you see the Unix, this kind of people, this group of people, hackers types, it attracts me because I'm one of them. You can say that literally. So I never went to Microsoft. Although I don't hate Microsoft. Almost every of the Unix fans, they hate Microsoft. They any opportunity, they'll push, they'll say something like Microsoft is evil, or Bill Gates should die. They say that. Back then there's lots of website. They want to, they say like Bill Gates die, something like that. Anyway, so the Unix people, but I don't hate Microsoft. In fact, I hate those Unix people that hates Microsoft. So okay, so back to the topic. So I was saying, I wallow in the Unix community for like 10, 20 years, and I don't like them. So and they call me a troll because I always, constantly fight with them, oppose their ideas, what they say. I disagree, but also I do it in a attacking, antagonistic style. So including swearing. I swear all the time. So many of them call me a troll. Um, but I'm not. I mean, all the things I say, my opinions, that is my true opinions, including, for example, all the things I just said. I don't think RFC is a good spec. For example, I think the writing sucks, and I think the RFC community, it's kind of it was a non-profit org, I think. I mean, the committee, the way they create things, I think it's bad. And Unix, of course, I hate so many things about Unix, and the Unix philosophy and so on. I think it's a cult, and I have my reasons. When I kind of criticize them, I always list my reasons. I mean, even though I swear a lot and sometimes ramble and do things, but almost always I give detailed reasons. I mean, if you just remove the swearing, the reasons are there. But the online, even in the back those days, they don't, like all the replies, they just attack you. They don't read much of the reasons. But also the other thing, the other reason is that when you criticize a community, let's say you program in Python, basically any negative opinion about Python, doesn't matter how you word it, how polite you are, is basically unwelcome. Same thing with Emacs. Any negative opinion about Emacs, Emacs Lisp, or Emacs people, in general, they are just unwelcome. This is the situation with these hacker type of communities. By the way, it's not true in non-hacker type of communities. By that I mean, for example, Microsoft programming communities. There are, of course, Microsoft is big, and there are huge amount of, in fact, much more people in that community, as well as JavaScript and PHP, for example. These are two great examples. For example, JavaScript and PHP, these two are non-hacker languages. Every hacker hates them, despise them. At any opportunity, they'll say bad things about JavaScript and PHP. Because why? Because the hacker, they have some kind of elite attitude. Because they see this, they think this is really bad. JavaScript is really bad. You don't want to use it. And same thing with the PHP. Well, it's true they are bad, but anyway, that's another topic. But anyway, so the hacker people, what was I going to say? Yeah, basically they form a code. So what I'm saying is that this code situation happens in Unix, in Perl, very much Unix, Perl, in Lisp communities, especially Common Lisp. Okay, and Unix, Perl, Lisp, um, in let's see, and Python. Okay, also in Python communities. But however, it's almost non-existent. This code kind of mentality or hackers, they do not exist in PHP community, like none. Well, I'm talking about at least 10, I mean 10 years ago. I don't know about today. I don't know about the past 5 years. Things have changed, and also JavaScript has become something else. So JavaScript today, there's kind of a little code formation. But anyway, I'm talking about the year 2000s. Okay, so you don't have any code kind of mentality in PHP community. You don't have any of that in JavaScript community, because these two communities, they begin their language is not the elite hackers. They are not from some elite hackers. We're gonna create this language that that's the best of everything. It's not their origin. They are just PHP, for example, is just from a teenager who wants to create his homepage, pretty homepage. That's the original acronym. Okay, pretty homepage, my pretty homepage. He created a script using Perl, and that became PHP. And similarly, JavaScript is from Brendan or Brenda, what's his name? Brendan Ike. He created JavaScript back in Netscape. But anyway, I'm not going to into history about that. But anyway, the original intention of JavaScript is for it's for dynamic HTML, but the context is that so that well, it's designed to be like easy language for beginners to learn. So it's not like elite. It's not like tail recursion, monad. Monad tail recursion, least comprehension. The code like the code kind of people like all these. They spread all these things every day. So JavaScript is designed for kind of like the beginner who don't know how to program. It's designed for them to use. So it never had at least in the first 15 years, it doesn't have the elite code mentality. So and every hacker despises them to this day today. Java and it's funny. This is very interesting. It's funny. Both PHP and JavaScript became the most popular language of them all. Like a slap to the hacker codes. The PHP became essentially basically the number one, depending on how you count. The number one, the most popular language throughout 2000s. I don't know about today. Today is still top five. Okay, for example, Facebook. PHP could, technically speaking, the language has lots of problems, right? But the Facebook, the that guy, Zuckerberg, he doesn't know how to code, so he used PHP, and he built his empire. He's a scum, by the way. He built an empire, and now they grow and grow, and billions, millions, of dollars, and so they use PHP, and they create a new language of PHP, which is called Hackland. So PHP. So anyway, PHP is like became the number one most popular language, and same thing with JavaScript. It became number one language. So if you think about this, it's quite interesting. How is it the situation? These hackers, um, the language they despise, they became the greatest, the most popular language. But anyway, so Unix philosophy, I'm gonna talk about, let's say, Unix philosophy. I have more a few hundred articles on Unix philosophy. It's it's my rant. I for all the things I talked about. Like IFC, like I have lots of articles. Yeah, let me just go to it quickly then. Xali.info. This Brave browser bug. By the way, Brave is a great browser. It's also invented by the Brendan Ike guy who created JavaScript. So you go to Xali.info, go to programming, and on the left you can see anti-hacker year 2K. Now these are collection of articles. These articles are pretty old. They are mostly written in 2000s. But anyway, Xali Unix philosophy, okay, and Xali Unix pestilence. Okay, I want to show you some articles I've written, and I'm going to talk about them. So Unix pestilence quotations. So let me get the articles ready. Yeah, hold on a second. The nature of Unix philosophy. Okay, that is the one. That's a primary one. I'm going to talk about the Unix philosophy, and let's open another one. Xali Microsoft hatred. About the Microsoft hatred. If you lived through the 2000s, you know it. But if you are younger, then you probably don't know. But it's funny, you see how we hackers hate Microsoft. But however, today Google, Facebook is like few times more evil than Microsoft back then. And Microsoft today is actually becomes the most contributor to open source. Things change. Like in many ways, it's sad. Anyway, so Google was the great do no evil company we supported, and I so much supported Google, for the first 10 years. But today it became so extremely evil. I mean, blatantly lie and do devious things, techniques, to and with their ads and browser. Not just a decision you don't like. It's like they go underhand. They try to bypass law, or I'm not sure about bypassing laws yet, but they do all sort of things that you know uh, evil. And yeah, for example, they monitor, everyone is using phone, right? Android, that's owned by Google, so they monitor your every movement, and even you turn off all the privacy, you check mark, you don't want them to track you, they still do. They just then when the news broke out, they will just say, "Oh, it's a mistake. Oh, we put the battery, we put a microphone in this device by mistake. It's not our intention." It keeps happening. Okay, so back to the Unix philosophy I'm gonna talk about, but let me read the comments. Let's see. By the way, keep the comments going. Okay, so I know I'm going. I don't want to like going into a direction that's just of interest to myself. So let's see. Let's see the comments. So Duncan says, Rob Pike says something like the Unix philosophy is already dead and its funeral eulogy. Its funeral eulogy was delivered by Pearl. That's interesting. I haven't seen that quote before. Yeah, and now Pearl is also dead. Okay, Scott says the way I do it is this: touch a timestamp on file, build the site, and use ncftp with any files new. Okay, but what I mean, what client are you using? As far as I know, WebDAV is a protocol, right? I mean, what tool you use to sync your site? I mean, and why can't you use rsync? Why is rsync not available? Okay, I'm gonna read the next comment. I think you can do WebDAV via simple file manager. Okay. So Duncan says, I think Mac OS is currently certified Unix and Linux isn't. Funny, since hardly anyone runs Mac OS on servers. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's kind of, to me, okay, this is my perception, always judge for yourself, because okay, so I don't like I hacker, the Unix type of people, right? But so to me, the situation, today we have Linux. Linux is a free operating system. It's free. You can get it for free, but it's also so-called free software foundation, and open source. And that is great, when in the beginning in 2000s we have a vision like Unix is going to replace Windows, and Microsoft is going to perish in 10 years. And that didn't happen. And also Linux, the Linux, even so it's open source, but you can see people fighting each other all the time. You have so many in a Linux, first of all, you have so many distributions. It's not okay. You might think, okay, oh, it's peaceful coexistence. Not really. They fight. They really fight each other. Even they cannot make money, but they do. But actually, I mean, well, if you cannot make money, you do it, you get fame. And when you have fame and you become popular, you make money. That's many of the open source projects. That's their way. Or you go into the cloud. Cloud is a service, so you cannot say, I'm not an open source. I'm just running a service. Anyway, so Linux, you see, you have so many distributions. Then within one distribution, you have so many so-called window managers. Okay, and constantly every year, or you have groups within them. They fight. It's a political fight. It's not just I disagree with your technical philosophy. It's not just that. They fight politically for power. That's what happens. That's so back then I was a fan of Richard Stallman. I was like a fanatic. I have been banned in Mac mailing list because they call me a Richard Stallman fanboy. And not today. Of course, I think Richard Stallman is I think he's still a good guy, but his deeds is no good. So I know So back then I was a Richard Stallman fan, and I also am pro Free Software Foundation. I'm anti the open source. I mean they are at war, right? I talked about this in previous talk shows, a few times. So they are at war, but I'm very much on the Richard Stallman side. That was back then. In fact, I have wrote an article. You can see a quote. You can see my mentality back then. So Unix pestilence. This is an article I wrote back in 2003. But anyway, if I was talking about back then. Internet is not like today. There's no Wikipedia yet. I mean, 2003. Wikipedia maybe just began. So you don't have information like there's no Stack Overflow, there's no Reddit, there's no Hacker News. Okay, back then the only thing you have is Slashdot. So and there's no resources. Like if you want to for documentation for how to solve things, you try to find, maybe some programmers has blogged about it. It's still very rare. Like there's not even concept of blog yet. There's no blogging yet. So I was writing this article. It's half rant and half collection of good resources for Unix. The documentation resources, the repository resources. There's no GitHub back in, and there's not even centralized code repository except Perl. You know, so it's a collection of resources, but it's also a rant. A lot of it is rant, and over the years, you see how SUSE kind of died. Debian, it's So today, most popular is Ubuntu, right? And Ubuntu also became greedy. They create their cloud, and I mean that's a course. That is a natural course when you derive people of the. I mean, when you want communism, essentially, that like the Free Software Foundation and open source, when you prevent people making money, they they do what they can, to do that, because otherwise nobody do a thing. I mean, the idea is everyone contribute. If you have money or something, if you have time, you contribute. But yeah, in reality, you don't. So Red Hat. So anyway, so I was going to. Oh, this girl is beautiful. this girl is. This is back in 2000 Linux World Conference, and she's dressed as a BSD demon. And Apple. This is old Apple logo. Bleeding rainbow. Yeah, and Mac OS X. The X stand for 10, like it's a Roman numeral 10. But you see, but they don't call it Mac OS 10 because they want to like in sync with the Unix culture. IRIX, AIX, HPUX, HPUX. Linux. That's why Mac OS X. So anyway, so there's one article I want to show here. GNU is not Unix. Okay. Now remember the name acronym is so-called recursive acronym. It's actually stupid. The term recursive acronym is just a term invented by these geeks. Okay, it didn't exist in English. So all these hacker cultures, the hackers. Oh, it's great. They get giddy, they get excited. Oh, GNU is not Unix. It's called recursive acronym. It's like they are trying to teach you about linguistics or English, but it's actually just idiocy. It's idiotic. It's just they created this thing, and they created this phrase recursive acronym. It doesn't exist. I mean, well, if you try to look into history, you might dig up, it's often you can dig up some a previous occurrence before, but practically speaking, that the recursive acronym is just invented by the hacker geeks. But anyway, so here is a article I've written. So you can see my mentality back then. I'm for Free Software Foundation. I'm against the open source camp. So you see, I say of the open source, which is one of the most paltry idea of humanity, of dotes musing, paupers plead, a offshoot and outright turncoat of Stallman's vision and hardship, dressing itself as the mediator between FSF and businessmen, fiddling and hawking a pipe dream of its own, a pot calling the kettle black, thieves and slouches backseat, and in the end, it's just another fantastic fat pest of the world that is lingering, a sucker of programmers' blood, a ruse for the enterprising corpse, a disparaged, incongruous splash of vapory nothingness that we shall see. So this is back in 2002 when the open source and Free Software Foundation are fighting each other. So I was, you can see I was very much for free software, for on the Richard Stallman side, and the reason is that Richard Stallman, you have the idea, you have the moral idea. There's a moral element in the free software foundation's ideology because you want to be good. I mean, the key is not just open source. I mean, it's not about being able to look at the source code, but rather it's more important about how you help other people. If you have a software, you let other people use it. They can see the source code. Well, I was young then, so anyway, so that's how I came. I mean, I'm mentioning that because I was talking about something that came to it. But let's go to Unix philosophy. So Scott says, by the way, I do a lot rant, right? I mean that's that's why it's Scott Talk Show, and I talk about my thinkings and my mindset, and I know for sure many of you like Unix, and you don't think you don't agree with my opinions. That's totally good. I mean, you are here probably because you know a little bit about me, and you want to hear what I say. So anyway, let me read the comments. Despite the ugly syntax, the thing I like about Perl was that it was easier to write a script and work on Unix, Windows, and Mac. Yeah, exactly. Python is not the case. In fact, Python documentation, it's so bad. It's worse than Perl. Despite the Perl documentation is full of jargons and kind of sloppy writing, and they enjoy that. I mean, they intentionally do it that way. Full of irrelevant jargons, meshed up with Unix jargons and stuff. That's the nature of Perl. But Perl documentation, like every few paragraphs, they give you an example. They show you how to use it. So I switched from Perl to Python because I'm tired of Perl. I don't like this, mentality. I don't like this garbage, sloppy, thing. I like formal languages. Like I prefer kind of like, correct, as you might call it, correct way, of writing or whatever. So I switched to Python, and that's a mistake. the Python, the Python. So I think I'm going to do a talk show about Python and Guido, the person. Okay, I mean he not about his. I mean he's a good person. Okay, yeah, I know he's a good person, but his opinions, he's the way he write things. He has certain like attitude, certain passive aggressive attitude, and the Python documentation is very bad. The writing quality is extremely poor, and in practice too. Like you try to find something, you cannot find it. And he's a passive aggressive guy. He always want to, you can see between the lines in his writings. He always want to tell you something else. Like he want to push, his like opinion onto you. But so in practice, I got into Python, So when you read Python doc, it's less practical than Perl. Perl at least I can easily trivially find whatever I need to do. There's an example. I mean, even I don't like the syntax or like okay, but there's always you can find what you need to do. Not so with Python. Python they force you. They kind of Guido and his minions. Well, of course, because Guido created language, and he's got followers. So whoever follows him tends to be, under his, influence or in agreement with him. So you have the Python organization, nonprofit and stuff. So they create this PEP. And Guido is kind of, he like things, he has a tendency, inclination to like formality. For example, he created this PEP, like it's a committee, it's a procedure, a formal official procedure to advance Python language design or evolution, PEP and another jargon PEP. Anyway, so that's about Guido and Python. So let's back to the so yeah, if I'm going to do, I want to talk about Python some another day, but when I do that, I'm going to give you a lot of examples, like example in documentation or the programming language. Lots of problems. The other thing about the programming code is that when you are in a programming language code, such as Python, Perl, um, these two are particularly severe. Typically, the Unix kind of Python, Perl, and um, for example, not so much in Java. Or not, I don't know about C++ because I don't code in C++, but I don't think it's not that much in Ruby community. But Python and Perl is two good examples of where, and Emacs, yeah, of course, Emacs is a community, a kind of code-like community where this code mentality is very heavy. They have like everything. Well, it's like that. So back to the what so Scott says certainly one can say that now that Python about Python and Ruby. Okay, tell us why you use 4 separate browsers. Okay, yeah, it's been like that for like 20 years. But basically, each browser have a specific purpose. So Google Chrome, these days I use Google Chrome only for Google accounts, nothing else. Like I log in, I use, I don't visit any other site on Google Chrome except Google owned stuff like Gmail and stuff. Because Google now is becoming so evil and massively empire, massive empire. I don't know if technically they are more, they have more assets than Microsoft. I don't know if that's technically true. I mean, you have to look up, the economy. They have numbers. I don't know if so. I don't know if that's true. But Google, they have, the cars, AI machines. They help the military. They have, satellites and it's and the phone is in everyone's pocket, so it's extremely powerful. So these days I cannot even trust the Google Chrome browser. Okay, you don't know, you turn all the privacy features on. You don't want to tracking, right? Even so, you cannot be sure that they are actually taking photos of you every every minute or something. You don't know. And also they recently started, I noticed, they in the settings preferences, I think they actually have an item that says clean your hard disk. So this is the browser. Now they start to get into, they want to clean your hard disk now. So you click that, they're gonna like check your hard disk for viruses or something. So I don't trust Google. So I mean, I'm still using Gmail. I hope to migrate. I hope to, and also today, the social justice happenings. You probably have heard of, and Google is part of it. All the technologies, and one day, if I said something wrong, ban. Google bans all my account. Gmail is gonna. That's the situation. So I don't trust Google. Um, so that's for Google. And Firefox, I have JavaScript turned off. I have cookie turned off. Everything turned off. So Firefox is my default browser. So any website I visit, there's no JavaScript. you cannot do things to me. But mostly, actually, it turns out mostly I use JavaScript to. Mostly I use the Chrome browser just for local development of my websites. So you can see all these tabs. I'm working on stuff. These are the pages I need to work on. That's basically I do every day. They are all local files. You can see in the URL field, and some linguistic stuff, some writing stuff. This is interesting, by the way. This is the what's called allograph, where, for example, capital letters and lowercase letters in English they are called allograph because it's a different grapheme that represents the same thing. So, but back then, S is written like that, like a long F, and that is actually how the integral sign, the history of integral sign. So that's interesting. So anyway, I use my, the my Firefox browser for web dev. Like I can just press a button from Emacs, and it switches to Firefox, and it's very fast because there's no JavaScript. Safari I use for basically mostly just for Twitter because I have three Twitter accounts, but the two I use is basically Ergo, Emacs. Let's see. Oops, I made. Okay, so yeah, so Twitter is Safari. I basically use for Twitter for my Emacs Twitter account. But sometimes, for example, this my weblog. Let's go to Unicode. So this is my Unicode page. Let's go to emoji. So let's go to hands actually. Let's go to food and drink. So food and drink. Now remember there's no JavaScript, but sometimes I need JavaScript because I have JavaScript running on this page. So I can open it in Safari. Safari has JavaScript on, so I can click. I got that. I wrote the JavaScript for that. But by the way, I want to show this. So this is my so you can search Unicode. Let's see, GRAM. So it will show all the Unicode that contains the word GRAM, for example. And it's done in real time. For example, let's say WAT water. All the Unicode characters whose Unicode name contains the name water. So TR. And you can type another words that filter out. Let's say melon. So if you type water space melon, you got watermelon. So if you like it, if you write blogs, link to it. Help me out. So that's why I use Safari sometimes for this purpose. And the Brave browser, primarily I use it for my Twitter, but also for anything I click on Twitter. When news articles. So by default, the JavaScript is off, but I can turn it on if I want to. That's a good thing about Brave browser. Brave browser is a browser build. The engine it uses is the same as Google Chrome. The purpose of Brave browser is that today the ad tracking is getting out of hand because the web was not designed for ads and JavaScript. And JavaScript, when you want to put ads in your website, basically you copy a snippet of JavaScript, you put it there. So essentially, it's like you grab code. It's like putting a virus in your website. That's and so it's very difficult, extremely difficult for security, to do security correctly. So the idea of Brave browser, the guy Brendan, what's his name? BREND, Brendan Ike, this guy. So I'm following him. So he created the Brave browser. The intention is that to revolutionize, to rid of the previous generation. The ad tracking, all that stuff. So he is trying to create a new platform for the internet, for the web. So Brave browser by default, it filter out all tracking just by default. It's built into the browser. Um, and he also creates a system where publishers can benefit by cryptocurrency. I think I haven't looked into that much, but so he's trying to build this new system. So I recommend to support Brave browser. If you are a geek, I'm pretty sure most of you are. Um, you have a tendency to resist any corporation, like you prefer the free software small groups. So when you look at Brave, you a lot hacker types will say, oh, your cryptocurrency method is wrong. I'm not going to use it. I'm happy with Chrome with ad blocker, by this another hacker. That's not a good way to go, because do you want to forever stay in a small hacker group? Like, nobody cares about you. You have to spend hours every day just to be sure you are free without tracking. That's no good. Instead of, you want a society, you want a community. You don't have to worry. You can easily go and get what you want and do your things without being tracked. In order to do that, you need society. You need, well, at least you need, at least in USA, in much of the Western countries, you need companies. You need these companies to do that, to have this mentality. So you want to, when there's something like Brave, you want to help, to support it. Try if you can. That's what I think. I don't have money to give to Brave, um, but you might try to, you might think it's a good idea. So what else? How long have I been talking? 56 minutes. I think I talked 10 more minutes about Unix philosophy. Get to that topic, and we'll be done for today. Yeah, there's one article I want to talk about, which is the Unix philosophy proper. The meaning, uh, yeah, I was young then. Yeah, so I mean, so yeah, the question is that, it's funny how often the quote, the "I was young" applies as one discusses past views. Yeah. So logically, yeah, I mean, that's common saying. So whenever a person did in the past, and okay, let's put it this way: whenever a person changed his point of view, then one can easily say, oh, I was young. But it does not necessarily mean that. I mean, the implication is that, you know, my opinion, the opinion the person had in the past is just wrong. It is wrong because he's young. But it is actually not necessarily true. I mean, everyone gets old, so you can, whatever you don't like anymore, you can always say, "Oh, I was young," but it's not necessarily true. Yeah. Uh, one more question, then I'm gonna talk about the Unix philosophy for maybe 5 minutes or 10, and then that's it for today. So this question message, I probably pronounced your name wrong, but okay. So he says, have you tried dragging files between systems? What do you mean? So for example, you have text file in Windows system and want to drag it into Emacs open in your Linux VNC session. Do you think it's possible? Okay, I don't 100% understand the question. I suppose you are running Windows, and you are using a virtual VNC. What does VNC stand for? I mean, I suppose you are using some kind of emulation. What's that? Virtual box or something. And the virtual box is running Linux, and you want to drag a file from the Windows desktop to the Linux in running Emacs. So is it possible? I don't know, but I think in general that's just not a common feature. I mean, even if it's possible, it's not so easily done. I suppose. Yeah, I don't know I don't have much experience with that. So back to the nature of the Unix philosophy. The Unix philosophy is a jargon that that is widely spread, especially in 1990s and 2000s. So typically the tenet of Unix philosophy is it's loose. It's loose. There's no exact definition, but typically it says things like small is beautiful, make each program do one thing well, build a prototype as soon as possible, choose portability over efficiency, store data in flat text files. Yeah, so that's a typical elements of the Unix philosophy, so-called Unix philosophy. But okay, it's total bullshit. In my opinion, why is it total bullshit? So in my opinion, okay, so it's okay. Let me explain this way. It's every code. There are many codes. If you study code, you can begin with Wikipedia, and you'll see tens of them. Some of them are quite large. They are powerful organizations. For example, Scientology, Falun Gong. Both of these are international octopuses, powerful. Even the FBI cannot do much to them. In fact, they tell FBI what to do. Okay, at least that's the case of Scientology. Well, I don't mean tell FBI what to do, but they can kind of influence. So so if you look into code, a code typically have jargons, just like the Unix philosophy, or they have like rules or whatever they call it. Uh, um, yeah, I think you get what I mean. So the way I see this Unix philosophy is just like that. It's the bounding things, the principles, or things of the code element. But why is that? So because you see these things, you can never exactly precisely define what they mean. Basically these Unix type of people, when they see something they like that's from Unix, okay, they say, oh, that's Unix philosophy because it's small. Now when they see something that is not small, for example, Emacs and Perl. Perl is a good example, for example. And especially today, there's like the Unix philosophy is completely gone. There's no more, shell small little programs. That kind of thinking is long gone for 10 years now. But anyway, so they just these tenets, these so-called Unix philosophy, they are just code, sayings. They have no technical meaning. They have they are not precise. They can always apply to anything, however you like. Which basically it ends up whatever you like it applies. The Unix philosophy applies. Whatever you don't like, it doesn't apply. For example, let me give you an example. There's a popular book, widely popular. It's called the Unix Haters Book. You see this cover. It was created by these computer scientists, Don Hopkins and a few others. It's widely popular in the 1990s. It's free, by the way. You can download and read it. Read it. And Yeah, it's very funny too. Yeah, and for example, in Unix you have X11. So there's one chapter. Let me show you. Um, I've got too many things here. Oh, I think I don't have the article here. I removed it. So why that okay? So let's go to the handbook then. Okay, well, there's a famous article. Let's see. By the way, anyone remember that article? That's one chapter of the Unix haters book. It's about why X11 sucks. It's written by Don Hopkins. By the way, you can see Don Hopkins on Hacker News. He frequent Hacker News. He's also a Mathematica coder. He loves Mathematica, by the way. Uh, so anyone remember the X11 chapter? Um, yeah, this one. The title is called the X Windows Disaster. This is his blog. I didn't know he had a Medium blog. Okay, so there it is. So now he has replicated. Actually, it is on my website. Yeah, I forgot. It should be on my website as well. But anyway, this is the official. Okay, he's official. He put on his blog now. So for example, X11, it's one of the most worthless hack. Okay, and it's huge. It's not small. Unix says, Unix philosophy says small is beautiful. X11 is not small. It's a monster. Okay, it's what typical programmers call a monster. It's huge. Uh, and where is the Unix philosophy in this? Now, when Unix type of people, or people influenced by the hacker type of people, when they see this article, I've seen people, I've seen a lot because I argue with them for 20 years now. I've seen all kind of replies and responses. So when they see this article, their response is that, let me tell you, that's not Unix. Oh, that's just X11. That's a component. We can switch it out anytime. This is not Unix at all. That's what they say. And Bash, the Bash shell, it's pretty bad. They say, oh, that's not Unix. tar, for example, the Unix tar. There are many versions. For archiving a bunch of files together into one. The tar file that also sucks so badly. Back then in year 2000, if you tar a bunch of files, the name is too long. Like if the directory name is like more than 120 characters, it corrupt your file name. So you tar the directory, untar it, all your file name got truncated. Unix has the thing about truncation, about silent truncation. They like to truncate things, silently, and that's part of the Unix philosophy. So it's pure garbage. It's extremely bad. So in my opinion, I like to say it's Unix and C, the language C. They are the father of everything bad in the computing industry. They focus on speed. They focus on simplicity. Not simplicity, but uh, 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 a simpleton. It's like crude. Kludge, no design, no brain, no design. but make it very fast. So you spread, you put it out, and people say, "Oh wow, this is fast," and it's never about correctness. Unix philosophy, Unix people, Unix things, they never care about good design, quality design. They don't care. They don't care about correctness. They don't care. 90%, works. It'll be fine. That's good enough. 90%. So in my opinion, okay, so they spread, because it's speed, it's fast, it's small, and it's, by the way, mostly it's free. If all the open source programs, if they are not free, money, okay, if they are not free, the open source philosophy and free software, they'll crumble down in one night. Tomorrow you wake up, nobody likes open source anymore. It's just because they are free, not because the freedom. Because it's zero money and it's the worst shit. That's how they spread. Like the LaTeX of Donald Knuth. When you have something that's free, it spreads like a virus. As long as it's like it does something, like it's good enough. Uh, People don't want to pay even 1 cent. They don't. That's just the human nature. You Anyway, so back to the Unix. So Unix philosophy. So you have this. Yeah. So X11. It's monstrous. It's huge. It's not small. So why is it? How is it Unix philosophy? But anyway, so X11 is so bad. But however, because it's free and open source and nobody can do anything about it because you try. Nobody willing. If you are a capable programmer, you are not willing to write something that replace X11 and contribute for free. Anyway, let me get back. So for now 30 years, people try to replace X11, but it's hard. I mean, there are new things now. But what I'm saying is that this thing began. People have tried to replace X11 since like 1998 at least. Okay. I have articles I can show you, but it's in my it's in my this Unix pestilence page. If you look at this page, you can find links. But anyway, so back to Unix philosophy and we'll be done. So okay, so these are code like. So what I think is actually happened. I mean, the way I see the Unix software, all the Unix software, or Unix related software such as Perl, the way I see is that they are just hacks. I mean, they are the most clueless hacks that are put together by clueless or lazy people who don't care about correctness, or they don't want to spend energy. They just want to create something quick and fast. Okay, when that happens, and when you have this software, but over let's say 5 years, 10 years, you try to improve it. It works 90%, but then next year you try to fix a little bit, make it 91%. So over 10 years, what happens to it? What you got is Unix, like today's Unix and Linux. That's the way. That's how I think with the Unix philosophy software that people like to call it from Unix philosophy. I mean, people, the hacker types like to think of it as the fruit of Unix philosophy. Yeah, so I think it's just a bad hack, by clueless people. But given enough time, like 5 years, 10 years, you put it out, make it free. Then people try to improve it a little by little. What you got is Unix, the thing, Unix philosophy thing. Okay, that's it for today, I think. So 11:30, great. That's a good time. 70 minutes. So anything else? Let me know. Okay, so I mean, so I have this chat thing, and so you can type on the YouTube comment, like after an hour it'll show on YouTube in one of my videos. So if you do comment, comment and let me know what we should talk about it next one, or any comment you have. If you have a question about Emacs or something you missed, or something sometimes I didn't see some questions in a comment, because I'm trying to read it fast. I don't read fast, because I always thought I can, read, as fast as native, American. That's it turns out it's actually not true. I read, quite a lot slower than, the obviously, because I didn't grew up English. Is not my native language. So anyway, thank you guys for coming. Great to see you, Scott. By the way, Scott is a old-time Emacs user, and we met in a Emacs hangout. We should do that, sometimes. Yeah, and you be my guest or something. So see you guys next time. Bye.